Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Real Steel, where we talk all things Pittsburgh Steelers, no BS, just the real steel. I'm your host, Jeff, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Polt. And we got a good one today, Polt. Steelers top the Ravens, 18-16, a 6 field goal game by our Lord and Savior Chris Boswell. Seal us the game and put us atop the AFC North. I'm sitting here in Vegas, actually, on a work trip, and you're back home in Baltimore, which is a good spot to be after that win. I know you live with a couple Ravens fans, and must be feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, it's always nice to win games. It's better to win games against division rivals. It's even better to win games against people you work with and hang out with, and that's the Baltimore Ravens. So it feels really good. It was a good victory Monday for me, getting to rub some salt in the wounds. And we didn't play our best game, and the fact that we were able to come out on top against a really good Baltimore team like that just makes me feel even more confident about this team.
Yeah, didn't play our best game for sure. I think we took a lot of slack for not being able to score a touchdown, and I think a lot of people are still looking at the Steelers not being a complete team, given that we couldn't get in the end zone, couldn't convert there. But in
Yeah.
the words of Mike Tomlin, a win's a win, right? A win in the NFL is huge for us, and to put the Steelers at what 9-2 now, atop the AFC 8-2. Sorry,
Eight
right?
and
Eight
two.
and
Yep.
two. Yeah, atop the AFC North, and the Ravens next behind us
Yeah,
is
eight and
seven
two.
and
Eight and
four.
two.
I mean, it's huge, man. This is just it's awesome. Yeah, I think there were some frustrating moments in the game, which we can certainly dig into here, but um, I just feel really really great with coming out of that on top.
Yeah, I mean, the last we've been told all year that we haven't played any good teams, and our hard part of the schedule was coming up, and nobody believed if we'd be able to keep up with our record from the beginning of the year at 6-2. But I mean, we've now went on the road and beat the Washington Commanders, who are a really good up and coming team, and just beat the Baltimore Ravens on the road without scoring, or at home without scoring a touchdown. So those are two really solid teams, two very teams firmly in the playoff. The Ravens all obviously fighting with the division for the division with us. I mean, I don't know what more I can say about this team. When you don't play your best game, obviously they didn't play their best game, especially offensively. Maybe defensively they played one of their best, but to be able to come out with a win, it's twice now that we've won a game without a touchdown this year, and that's pretty crazy to say.
I mean, at the end of the day, the Steelers are 5-0 against teams with winning records. It's a good stat to have, and I think that's the most amongst all teams in the league. Um,
I think
it's a
we're
good.
down one to the Lions. So I think the
Okay.
Lions have one more than us with six. But I mean, yeah, we have the same as the Chiefs, two more than the Bills, two more than the Ravens. So all these teams that are, or all these people that are discrediting our wins, we're up there with the most number of wins against teams over 500. You can't really doubt us. I don't know how we keep getting all this doubt.
Totally agree. So I don't think we necessarily need to do a full game breakdown. Maybe we just pull out a couple different highlights because at the beginning of the game it was three, then it was six, and then we let up a touchdown, and we tacked on four more field goals to get us up to 18, and we ultimately let up two touchdowns um, on the defensive side as well as a field goal, right? So um,
Yeah.
I think what shines for me here, outside of course, Chris Boswell, the defense played a really, really good game to keep Lamar Jackson and this high-powered Ravens offense that you talked about last episode is one of the highest scoring and one of the most in terms of yards and converting and all those other metrics. Really, really kept them in check. I think it's as simple as that. We saw a lot of good plays by a lot of different players on the Steelers defense, and it's kind of a tale as old as time, right? With the Ravens, we talked about how it was seven of the last eight, now it's eight of the last nine, and they're all low scoring games. I think that was kind of the stat of the week that I walked through at the end of the last
Yeah.
episode, and this game was no different. So even as much as it may have caused some stress or some anxiety or heart attacks in the moment
Lots of
with the
that.
game, it's what we knew was coming, right? Like we had to expect this.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about last week that Lamar Jackson has struggled against the Steelers, and yes, Sunday was no different. They just came out and were flat. I mean, some of these stats are crazy if you look at this. The Ravens had the number one offense with 440 yards per game. They had 329. They had the number one rushing offense with 183 per game. We gave up 124. They had the number one scoring offense with 32 points per game. We gave up 16. I mean, we just held them in check, and we didn't talk about it much. We talked about it a little bit, but it was a strength on strength kind of game. Their
Hmm.
offense is their strength, and our defense is our strength. And our defense was able to prevail in almost every scenario other than two drives. I mean, we gave up two long drives, a six-play, 80-yard drive at the end of the second quarter to give up the first touchdown, and then a nine-play, 69-yard drive at the end of the game to allow them to almost tie it up. Other than that, the defense played outstanding and didn't really give much up. So against a high-powered offense like this that's been moving the ball on everybody, Lamar Jackson is probably the MVP right now. This was his lowest completion percentage of the season at 48.4%. He had a streak of 8 consecutive games with a 100-plus passer rating. That was broken with a 66.1% this week. I mean, they just did the unlikely and held this awesome offense of the Ravens to very, very minimal amounts. Like you said, we should have seen this coming because this is how Ravens Steelers games go, historically, especially recently. But honestly, I didn't. I expected us to win, and I guess I did predict us to have a game very similar to this. I said 24-20, but I didn't know that we were going to completely shut down the Ravens offense.
Yeah. Turnovers was a huge part of this game too, in terms of how we kind of stayed on top of it, right? Two fumbles and an
Yeah,
interception. Of course, Russell Wilson threw an interception, not even in the red zone, inside like the 10-yard line, which was really, really frustrating to see. And we can talk about some of the challenges that the offense has had too in just a moment. But I think while we're here on just talking about how we really shut them down, those turnovers definitely played a really significant role. I mean, the Herbig play to or sorry, the Peyton
to
Wilson
start the
play
game.
to make that to
Oh,
the for the interception was absolutely just bonkers. And yeah, I mean, our defensive line and our linebacking core really, really got to the quarterback a lot. I think Lamar was only sacked twice in this game, but a lot of times was he outside of the pocket? Was he hit? Forced to make kind of a scramble attempt. So I'm just really, really pleased with how the defense played. And the defense had to play this well, knowing that the offense couldn't really connect.
yeah, and like you said, it didn't really seem like Lamar Jackson was comfortable most of the game, as it kind of seems to be the case when he plays the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, yeah, he's Lamar Jackson, so he's hard to sack. You can get him in your grasp and he can get away. So two sacks is actually not that bad. But I mean, the defense, like you said, you mentioned the Peyton Wilson interception, ripping that ball away from Justice Hill. That was an insane play. But I think the other two turnovers were really big too. Coming right out of the gate, Derrick Henry, right? All offseason, we've heard that Derrick Henry,
Hmm.
how are we going to be able to stop him? He's going to run all over us. All I've been trying to say the whole time, we know how to stop Derrick Henry. We've had success stopping him in Tennessee. I didn't know why it would be any different in Baltimore. And we came right out the gate and I think ended like a 100 some carry streak of him not fumbling the ball with a great play by Nick Herbig on the second play of the game. That was crazy. And then later at the end of the half with the big punch out by Patrick Queen, I thought that was huge too. That really set us up, got us a field goal right before half. We were, because we were winning most of the first half, 6-0 because they missed the two field goals, and then they go down the field one time towards the end of the half
Yeah.
and take the lead. And that I know you and I were talking about it. That felt kind of sour. I mean, we didn't dominate, but we had the lead the majority of the half just to give up one drive and then be losing. So the fact that Patrick Queen was able to, towards the end of the half on a drive that the Ravens were just trying to feel it out to see if they should even go for it instead of kneeling. And Patrick Queen makes a great play, great punch out, and great recovery to set us up for our third field goal of the game. So, yeah, very opportunistic from the defense. They really they pushed the momentum and kind of kept the game rolling for the Steelers. So, awesome job by them.
Yeah, I agree with everything you say. I just want to almost disagree with one of the things you said, or maybe emphasize a certain point. You're right in the sense of we didn't dominate that game, but if you look at time of possession or you look at the number of plays that we ran, I mean, we
Yeah,
had the ball for 36 and a half minutes. The Ravens had the ball for 23 and a half minutes. That's almost, and it's double the amount of, or 50% more in terms of the time that we had the ball than the Ravens did. And then we ran 74 plays to them running 54. So we definitely did
true.
dominate from kind of an offensive ownership perspective of the game. Now, granted, we couldn't capitalize. We went for it on 4th and 1, I think, on our 45 or 46 yard line, and we couldn't get that 1 yard to gain. We also had the Russell Wilson interception down there, like I mentioned, inside of I think the 10 yard line, and that was pretty unfortunate.
Yep.
Um, and of course, you know, the Ravens missed a couple field goals, so there's points left on the board by both teams, but I don't think that's really the point here. I think what I'm trying to kind of emphasize is, you know, we are kind of putting together some of these longer sustained drives and kind of taking the game by the horns in that realm and kind of owning things from a tempo perspective. And I think setting the tone in that sense, you know, in this case, we came away with 6 field goals. 6 scoring drives in a game is a lot. If we can flip some of those to be
Yep.
touchdowns, then we're in business. And again, I think people are going to sit here and say, "Oh, you know, the Steelers aren't one of the best teams in the AFC or aren't a team to beat because they couldn't score a freaking touchdown." Who cares? I mean, honestly, like we like I said, we knew what we were going to get with this game, and we came out on top of a team with 7 wins that everyone said was the had the leading MVP candidate. So, I think just to kind of settle those haters and not to think that there's very many that listen to us or saying some of those things. It's more going to be coming from
Yeah.
the peanut gallery, but still, I feel like that's kind of an important thing to hit on.
Yeah, and you're right. And if you look at the drive summary, I didn't know if I realized this until, looking at it right now. But we obviously, like I talked about, get that field goal at the end of the half to take the 9-7 lead. We then come out first drive of the third quarter and get a field goal. And we had the ball 5 times in the second half. And that includes the end of the game running out the clock. So discount that. We had 4 real drives and we had 3 field goals and the interception inside the 10-yard line. So yeah, we had 3 scoring drives and what should have been a fourth scoring drive. And that was all of our drives in the second half. So ball control was absolutely key. And that's something the Ravens are not used to. They're used to controlling the ball themselves, and we played that right back at them. I know both teams want to do that. So you're completely right. We kind of did dominate there. They had one drive, 11-play, 34-yard field goal drive in the second half, and then the 9-play, 69-yard touchdown at the end of the
Mhm.
game before not getting the 2-point conversion. So yeah, you're 100% correct. There maybe was a bit of domination or a bit more than maybe I alluded to at first. But that last drive, did that irk you at all? I didn't like how easily they let them go down the field.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, especially the play where we let up the touchdown. It felt like we just weren't really caring. I think the Steelers tend to play really soft in a lot of those situations.
Yeah, it's
I
so
really,
annoying.
really, yeah, it really, really bothers me. And I guess, the way that you could see that was if we get it inside the 2 minute warning, for the most part, we really just have to stop two back-to-back plays. We have to stop a touchdown. If we don't stop a touchdown, we have a chance to stop the 2 point conversion. And it worked
Yeah,
out in our favor that we were able to do that. Great, great play, by the way, by our defense on that 2 point conversion. But
yep,
I'm with you. That last drive of the Ravens definitely did irk me. It seemed like we really just kind of got picked apart. The touchdown was like they scored so quickly. Um, that was tough to watch, but I think that was probably the low light, and
yeah.
that's of course the time of the game where we're like, hanging on to it by a thread.
And I think you called it out correctly. It's we always sit back and let them come to us. And I get you're trying to prevent a touchdown. You're up by 8, so you don't want to give up the big play and let it be quick. But at the same time, it's like, why are you giving them 15 yards of space? They're going to move down the field. This is an NFL offense. If you give them 15 yards a play, it's going to be quick. I mean, their first 2 plays were incompletions. We had them in 3rd and 10, gave up an
Right,
11-yard pass. They gave up
right,
another 11-yard pass. Then had a sack for no gain. Okay. Then gave up 6. Then they had the penalty, and then we gave up 22 yards and 8 yards and 16 yards on the touchdown. It just was chunk play after chunk play after chunk play. And when you're a good offense like that, and you're being given chunk plays, it kind of it's very quick to go down the field. So maybe they knew that they were going to bend and not break and eventually stop them on 2. I know that's how we kind of felt. We knew they
yeah,
were going to give up the touchdown. We were just hoping they didn't give up the 2-point conversion. But it is a little frustrating that after dominating so much throughout the game that they back off and get a little conservative, at least it
yeah.
seems like from the couch.
No, you're totally right, though. I mean, from the couch. Um, but no, two third and longs, right? A third and 10 and a third and 9, letting them convert
Yep,
on what could have been a game tying drive for them. Was a game tying drive had they made the 2 point conversion. So, yeah, I'm with you 100%. What else you want to cover from the game? Anything like standout plays? I would love to break down this 2 point conversion really quickly. That was something that I
yeah, go
think
ahead.
was incredible play from our linebacking core as well as Joey Porter just to kind of seal the deal. I think what was interesting is how we utilized our timeout to call there, and it really looked like Lamar was going to do some type of a jump pass. And we I think came out the second time that they were out there, and actually snapped the ball, kind of defended against that. What I think is fascinating is we
Yeah,
forced. I don't know if we forced Lamar to his left hand side, or if that was kind of designed that he was going to go that way, thinking that they were going to have a receiver come open. But
that was
Lamar is,
designed.
yeah, he's not good on his left side. So that was like a really weird play that they kind of scraped up to come up with. Um, but the fact that Joey Porter was able to kind of make the game sealing play was super cool.
Yeah, and if you're on X, I'm actually watching the replay right now. If you're on X and go check out Dan Orlovsky, ex NFL player. We talk about him a good bit. He has a really good breakdown of how we stopped that play, and he points out two guys. You mentioned Joey Porter Jr., unbelievable play, and I'll get to him in a second. But it's really Nick Herbig. Nick Herbig makes the play. He blows it up right off the snap. It was definitely a design run to Lamar Jackson's left. I think with the possibility of throwing a jump pass, but I think they were also hoping they had a bunch set. They were
Yeah,
hoping Joey Porter Jr. would cut inside and they would have an easy touch or an easy conversion for Lamar Jackson. But Nick Herbig shot that gap and didn't allow Nelson Aguilar to block him, which ultimately blew up the play from the very beginning. And then it's Joey Porter Jr. just being patient. We've seen him, sometimes he makes bad decisions or does things that you might question, but you could see if you look at the pre-snap and watching the replay again, he's talking to Dante Jackson before the play. There's motion, and he's telling him, "Hey, they're going to do this, and you're going to follow the motion, and blah blah blah." It seems like Joey Porter Jr. actually kind of knew what was happening, and
hmm
was able to sell it. And then he sat at the goal line for a second or two. Lamar ran like 3 or 4 yards before Joey Porter Jr. even broke. So he was just patient, making sure the receiver didn't leak out after trying to block, and then just trying to track Lamar Jackson to make the play. And what an open field tackle. I mean,
yeah,
Lamar Jackson's one of the hardest
tough
guys
to
to
bring
tackle
down.
in the open field, and Joey Porter Jr. did it himself. Just an awesome play.
Yeah, and from what I at least heard, is Joey was pretty vocal with the defense coming out before that play, saying that
Yeah.
they were going to get a stop, which was great. I think they showed his dad a couple of times on TV, which was kind of good heartfelt moments for some lifelong Steelers fans. So I
I do
appreciated
gotta say though, on the Ravens' point of view, I don't know why they didn't put Derrick Henry in the game here. It was Justice Hill in the game, and
yeah,
I feel like that takes away an element of our what our defense has to cover. If it's Derrick Henry, you have to clog the middle and hope because it's 3 yards or 2 yards. I mean, Derrick Henry could get that in his sleep, just falling forward. So the fact that you don't even make us cover that, I think it was a crazy decision and ultimately helped the Steelers out. But definitely an interesting question or something to question on their end.
you remember a few games back when the Ravens they were 1 point shy and
Yes.
they went for a 2 point conversion to take the lead and they didn't get it
Yeah.
and they lost in that way. Um, Man, the 2 point conversions are really going to be haunting the Ravens. So, yeah,
Well, this is two
just
straight years at home that they didn't get a 2 point conversion on us. We beat them
yeah,
because they didn't convert a 2 point conversion. So yeah, something about the Ravens and going for two against us in Acrisure is not good for them.
for sure. All right. One other thing that I want to talk about in particular is just the fact that Justin Fields got in the game a few snaps. I think we saw him three different
Yeah.
times. Um, and we've been calling for that. We've been asking for that, and he did I would say a pretty darn good job when he was in the game. I think did exactly what we kind of were hoping that he was able to do. There was the one play in particular where we needed to extend the
Yeah.
drive, and he slid a little bit early. Um, but it was second and 10, I think, and he got 9 yards on it. And had he, not slid, or had he slid a little bit later, could have got a first down there. But still, to be able to do what he does and change the mindset of a defense to have to think about defending him versus playing against Russell Wilson the whole time. Uh, uh, we need to be doing this more, and we need to utilize Justin Field in the red zone because the Steelers are the third worst team in the NFL in the red zone. Only the Dallas Cowboys and the New York
Yeah.
Giants are worse than us, and we were 0 for 4 yesterday. So, or on Sunday. So we need to get better at that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, 2 carries for 17 yards. Like you mentioned, that one play when he slid early, that was pretty bad awareness. 2nd and 10, it would have clinched the game.
Yeah,
But he slid 5 yards earlier than he probably needed to. But again, I mean, for a guy coming in cold, his third snap of the game, with the game on the line, more or less, to make that play. I think what's crazy though, too, another knock on the Ravens is Justin Fields comes in the game. What are you expecting? Like, we're trying to run the ball with him, and they don't. They go hard after Najee, and Justin Fields makes a great play. He did that twice, 2 read options that were both very, very successful for us. Yeah, I love seeing that wrinkle in the playbook. Tomlin talked about it and kind of said, after the bye, he had that hamstring issue, so it delayed us being able to use these packages. But now that he's back healthy and obviously looked good on Sunday, and they were able to incorporate him pretty easily, I do expect them to use him a little bit more. You talk about in the red zone, we talk about short yardage. We had that, like you said, the turnover on downs where we couldn't get 1 yard on 2 plays. I think little situations like that, he could make a difference and will make a difference. And I hope to see them start incorporating him more and more as we start getting later and later into the season.
yeah, for sure. Just while we're on that topic of offense too, there was one other thing that I wanted to say. Um, Again, offensive production didn't cut it in this game, but we targeted George Pickens 12 times in this game. He had 8 catches for 89 yards. This is the
Yeah.
stuff we've talked about the past couple of years where we need to be looking George Pickens' way 10 times in a game. Um, and it happened, and it definitely pays off. I mean, Russell Wilson, we know, throws such a pretty deep ball, and that one catch along the sideline where it kind of fell right into his hands was amazing. But George Pickens had some really tough catches in this game and fought for extra yards in a lot of instances too. And so for someone, the last couple of games we've talked about is definitely a hothead, and we know is a hothead. This was a good kind of FU Ravens game out of George Pickens. I really liked what he had in him, and it showed good production.
Yeah, and he didn't get as out of control as I expected.
Yeah,
Especially when we had the
offensive
ball,
line
there
did.
was a there was a lot of fights going on, and Pickens, I mean, he was in the middle of some things, like the Ravens guy gets hurt and he's like yelling at him and whatever while he's on the ground, different things like that. But he didn't get any of the fights, which is good. I will say it's crazy. Through 10 games, 11 weeks, 10 games, he is third in the NFL in receiving yards with 728. He has one more yard than Zay Flowers of the Baltimore Ravens, but he's third in the league, only behind Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, who we know are putting up
Wow.
crazy numbers and are awesome receivers. So the fact that we were able to get him the ball 8 times, 8 catches for 89 yards with that 37-yard moonshot to get us close to field goal, or I think we kicked the field goal after that. Yeah, just keeping him involved is good. I got to say, though, this is like the second or third week. He's got to get that second foot down.
He
I
does.
don't know what it is, but he lollygags a little bit, I think, and he just doesn't get that second foot down. We need him to start doing that because his stats and his impact will be even greater.
Yeah, I do think
I
that
mean,
one
that's
play in
nitpicking, but
particular, the announcers kind of effed that up. I don't actually think he was extending for the first down. He was well beyond the first down. I think he was actually extending to try and get the ball out of bounds and try and step out of
yeah,
bounds. And he did step out of bounds before he actually got his second foot in. So you're right. He does need to add that little like tip, that little stutter
right.
step or whatever, which he's fully capable of. But I think that's a fair nitpick. But nonetheless, I mean, really, really solid game out of George Pickens, and I didn't know he was third in the league, so
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive. It's good to see him get his pay dirt. I think is probably a good way to put it.
yeah.
Okay,
Hey, before we move on though, we got to talk about your favorite subject. And I know you'll
special
probably give
teams.
some love to Chris Boswell, which you can hold that off if you want. But we got to give some love to the other part of special teams too. And Corliss Waitman we've talked about him a little bit, how good he's been. I know I said to you early in the game after his first punt, man, he's really struggling today. This is like 2 or 3 straight weeks. He actually ended up turning it around yesterday and had a fantastic game. He actually had a 56.5 yard average on 4 punts, which is the second best ever by a Steelers punter with 4 punts in a game, and that's the best since 1961.
Wow.
And he's averaging 47.2 yards on the season, which currently is a franchise record. So this guy
No
has been a
way.
huge pickup. Yeah, this guy's been a huge pickup, and I know I was giving him some crap early in the game, but he really turned it around yesterday and was fantastic with a 71-yard long punt. So wanted to give him some flowers, even though Boswell stole the show. Corliss Waitman really did flip the field, and in a game like this where it's ball control and
Super important.
good defense, it's really, really important.
Well, yeah, and like the other thing that no one talks about, I shouldn't say no one because Mike Tomlin, I believe, did actually mention this, but the secondary job that the Steelers asked their punter to do is to be a holder.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy job to do, especially when Chris Boswell has kind of a guy he's been practicing with probably the entire offseason into the preseason. And then Cameron Johnson gets hurt, and so now we have a new guy who's kind of holding for you. And so to be able to make that switch and for Corliss Waitman to kind of stand in and be a really strong holder too, to allow your kicker to make 6 of 6, I think that says a lot too. So honestly, I mean, Corliss Waitman might be in that consideration for a little balls of steel action. But I mean, it's hard not to give it to Chris Boswell. I mean, 6 for 6. The fact that he just drilled a 57-yarder without question. What's our line? Is it 57 and a half? Is that what it is? That we said at the
I
very
let me give
early
me
part of the
one
season?
second. I will check it
I'm
out.
pretty sure it's 57 and a half.
It's
And
58 and a half.
Oh, 58 and a half. Okay, cool. But nonetheless, I mean, this puts Boswell up to what? I think 29 out of 30 on the season. Um, I saw
Yep.
something today floating around on Twitter. It was really funny that basically was like um,
Oh, do
Chris
you want the
Boswell in
stat?
terms of,
I have it.
is it the fantasy scoring one?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let's hear it.
Okay, the big one is he would be the number one tight end if he was a tight end. So he has more points than any tight end in all of fantasy football. He also would be the number 6 wide receiver and the number 18 running back. That is crazy. And I know this is fantasy football, but it shows you what he means to the team. He is such an asset to this football team. Obviously leads the team in points, and I mean that's just bonkers that a kicker is the number one tight end and the number 6 wide receiver. That's just crazy.
Yeah, dude's a dog. I mean, we know it. We've said it, especially coming off a game with no field goals last game, and to notch 6. Again, I'm looking at that 44 number, and Chris Boswell is now at 29. There's certainly a chance that he's going to break this record for most field goals in a season, and I think if there's any time to do it, it's now.
He
Be
has
awesome.
107 points on the season. Our next closest guy is Justin Fields with 30. So he has 3 times the amount of points just from kicking the ball than the rest of our team. It's pretty unbelievable and really, really impressive by him.
Freaking awesome. Okay, do you want to give out some awards or anything? Anything come to
Yeah,
mind for
yeah,
you?
yeah. Yeah, I'll give out my balls of steel since you just gave out yours. I assumed you would give out
Well,
Chris
hold on. No, no,
Boswell.
no, 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 no,
Oh,
no, no,
no?
no. Hold on, hold on.
No, you didn't do it? Okay.
Listen,
Is it too obvious?
I want to. I want to, but I get slack because I give it to him all the time, which is bullshit because I only gave it to him twice,
That's
and he
fine.
deserved it, and he deserves it again. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna take who you want to give it to. So maybe we double
That's
balls.
fine. Go ahead.
It might be a double balls. Um, and
Go
this is
ahead.
kind of sucks that Chris Boswell is not going to get it because he's very well deserving of it. He knows he has it in my heart. Um, Patrick Queen.
Yeah.
Patrick Queen, man.
Yeah, easily.
Patrick Queen was all over the field yesterday. Talk about a revenge game. Led the team in tackles with 10 solo tackles, a tackle for loss or a quarterback hit, I think. Just like really, really asserted his dominance in this game. And there's the quote that Mike Tomlin said 4 years ago about Patrick Queen doesn't play like it doesn't belong on the Ravens. And
Yeah.
sure enough, he said in his press conference today as well. I think he got asked about Patrick Queen in particular and said one man's trash is another man's treasure.
All right, hey everyone. If you're watching, you obviously notice I'm wearing something different, and it's just me. If you're listening, you might have noticed the abruptness after Jeff's comment about Patrick Queen and Mike Tomlin's comment this week. If we told you earlier in the episode, Jeff was on work travel in Vegas this week, and of course, he must not have done very well gambling because the hotel he's staying at, the Wi-Fi crapped out on him with about 20 minutes left in our episode. So instead of recording it or re-recording it since we lost his audio and video, I'm just going to give you a quick recap of what we talked about and finish this off for everyone. So the end of that, what you just heard was Jeff picking Patrick Queen as his balls of steel. We did a double balls of steel this week, and I backed him up. Um, I don't have all the statistics on Patrick Queen at the moment, but I think he led the team in tackles with 10. He had a forced fumble recovery. Really played really, really well in what was a revenge game against the Ravens. He came out with a chip on his shoulder, and they put him out for the coin toss. They gave him a petty game ball at the end of the game. And he obviously had a chip on his shoulder after releasing last week that the Ravens never even offered him a contract. So I felt it was very fitting to give him a double balls of steel, and that's what we did. So then we went into Jag-offs, and Jeff gave his. He pulled a me, and he gave his to Will Brinson, who's a CBS sports analyst, and said that we were going to go 6-11 and come in last in the division. Obviously, through 11 weeks, we're 8-2, so he was very wrong. And Jeff felt like pointing out that Will Brinson, along with many others preseason who doubted us, should be the Jagoff of the week. So he specifically called out Will Brinson. I thought that was a pretty creative one. I thought about doing Justin Tucker. I thought that he was complaining about the field conditions, which is why his field goals were bad. When you listen to the clip for real, he actually doesn't blame the field. He says the conditions weren't great, but he says, you can practice that and work through that, and did not blame it. So I actually went a different route, and I went for the Steelers, and I said that Russ's red zone offense, or the Steelers' red zone offense with Russell Wilson, was my Jagoff of the week. We obviously struggled to convert touchdowns, and that's been a theme with Russell Wilson. With him starting, we're 7 of 24 scoring touchdowns in the red zone, averaging 2 yards per attempt, 4 TDs to 1 interception. Whereas with Justin Fields, he was 13 and 19 with 5.4 yards per attempt, 4 TDs and 5 rushing TDs. We're just way more successful with Justin Fields in the red zone, and I think that's partly because of our lack of creativity in routes in the red zone. And Justin Fields' legs being able to make a difference when things aren't open and things break down. So I felt it was worth calling that out. I do hope that Jeff and I both hope that maybe Justin Fields gets some snap in the red zone. Obviously, that might not fix the problems, but it could at least help having his legs out there helping us. So those were our Jagoffs for the week. We then did a quick preview of the Browns game coming up. Browns are, you're going to be listening to this probably on Thursday, which is when we play the Browns in Cleveland. They're 2-8. We're going in at 8-2 as like 3.5 point favorites on the road. There's a stat out there that we have never won a home Thursday night football game. Home Thursday night football game against a division rival. And especially under Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's Thursday records, here's the stat. We've never won a road divisional Thursday night football game. We're 0-7 all time, 0-5 under Mike Tomlin. And Mike Tomlin's 2-8 on the road on Thursday night football. So a lot of cards stacked up against us, but this is the Cleveland Browns, who have really struggled to get some statistics here. They're 31st in points scored, scoring 16 per game. Offensively, 20th in pass, 29th running the ball. They do have Nick Chubb back. They do have Jameis Winston playing quarterback now instead of Deshaun Watson. So the passing game has been a lot better. He almost threw for 400 yards last week. And the running game obviously is going to be better with Nick Chubb, but their offense is kind of struggling. Defensively, they're not doing very well either. They're 24th in points allowed, giving up 25 a game. They're 16th against the pass and 24th against the run. So hopefully our running game, it looks like the weather's going to be pretty bad. Potential snow and lake effect on this game, so probably going to be really windy. Might be the time to run the ball, and if they're the 24th best run defense, maybe we have the ability to run the ball against them. So we look to be able to do that. Some of our predictions for the week. Last week, our bold predictions, Jeff said originally that his was the under, that we'd hit the under. We hit that very, very easily. But then he predicted TJ Watt's strip sack. That did not happen. For me, I predicted Derrick Henry to have less than 100 yards and no touchdown. He had less than 100 yards, but he also had a touchdown. So I was 50% right as well. This week, Jeff said that Justin Fields is going to score a touchdown. I thought that was a really good pick. I just mentioned how bad we've been in the red zone, scoring touchdowns with Russell Wilson. I hope to see them incorporate Justin Fields a little bit more down there like they started to last weekend. And I was on a similar wavelength as Jeff, a little bit different. I actually considered the Justin Fields TD, which was pretty funny. But I ended up going with that we would score at least 2 red zone touchdowns. So completely change our luck and our success down in the red zone. So hoping to see that, like I said, with the weather, might have to run the ball a lot. I had originally predicted 31-13. Pittsburgh Steelers win Thursday night going into Cleveland. We break all those records. We finally get a win on the road on a Thursday night divisional game. I will stick to that, obviously. We'll see if we're able to get to 31, but I do think we'll be able to handle this pretty handily. So hopefully that happens. And hopefully Jeff, next time he's on a work trip, has better Wi-Fi. London was good. I don't know what happened in Vegas, so we'll have to get the scoop from him next week. But we'll be back with a full episode to recap the Browns game next week, and we appreciate everybody for listening. Thanks, everyone. Peace.